我们江西彩礼高，女孩子要求高。
我不是我说的啊。
我知道，我是说我们很多网友有很多这样的舆论，很多这样的声音啊。我想说的是，怎么说呢？希望广大的男同胞们跟女性现在是已经清醒觉醒，独立的在走向成长的道路上。希望广大男同胞们能够
自信起来，
睁眼看世界吧。
睁眼看世界。
然后就是好好的努力，不要就是只知道，不要就是破防了之后，然后就骂骂咧咧、哭哭啼啼。江西佬。
Yeah.
I think it's her right to want bride money.
Yeah, of
like
course.
that's her free will. You could tell me you wanted a man who had 3 legs, and I would be like, okay. I mean, that's your type, I guess. But I think her trying to pressure men in general in this way is weird.
She said men should open their eyes to the world.
I think.
What is the world? Like, what is the opinion of your part of the world?
I think she sounds arrogant on something she doesn't know much about either. Like if you look up like most developed countries in the world, or if you looked up like countries with the best gender equality, none of us pay bride money. Like bride money is not a thing. Like I tried to look it up when you told me you wanted to make this video about my country's history. I literally can't find information of when it would have died out. It was a thing for sure. But in my culture, as far as I could see, during Viking era, it was the woman who would give the husband money. Because you're building together. It just doesn't make sense to me. Because which country does she know that pays bride money? To be honest, like it shocked me a lot when we first met and you told me that bride money existed in China. That is a very huge shock for me. Because I consider it like such an old-fashioned thing. And I consider it a little bit scary as a woman, personally.
I would say here, for a lot of people, it's a new trend. Like, my grandparents' generation, my parents' generation, they didn't have this. But for some people, I guess it's somehow a tradition.
Yeah.
Like a custom. So we can look up people's opinion, like people who think we should have marriage money and what they think about the whole situation. So some people said it's because I raised my daughter up and I spent a lot of money on her. And after she got married, she couldn't take care of us.
That's ridiculous. Honestly, that kind of makes me upset. Because that makes it seem as if raising a girl is a bigger burden to you as a parent than raising a boy. And that in and of itself sounds like you love having a daughter less than you would have loved having a boy.
Exactly.
That's a very awful, like, way of talking about your child. Like, if my parents talked about me that way, it would break my heart. Quite frankly. Like, that would make me cry. I think that's such a weird excuse to give as a parent to monetize off of your child. We live in a modern society. I don't believe what they're saying is true. Like, oh, now she can't take care of me. Plenty of Chinese women take care of their parents. Like, this is not the ancient times where you locked your daughter in your house and she came out like once a year or whatever. And then when she got married, you could never see her again. Like, we don't live in ancient times. Your daughter still comes home.
Yeah.
Your daughter can still send you money. Like, the Chinese women I know didn't abandon their parents because they got married.
Yeah, the family structure in China has changed.
And it's been changed in the parents' generation too.
Yeah. And some people said it's just a custom. Men paying them bride money is to show the respect to the bride.
That's fair. I think that's a valid standpoint to have as a person. That you want to find a man who's willing to pay bride money. But I also think it's fair as a man to say, I don't want to. I think you should play with open cards when you're dating people and be honest about what you want. Like when we were dating, I said I wanted kids and I wanted marriage because that's something he has the right to know if he wants to date me.
Yeah.
And if I had been from a culture where this was even an option, I would have also been like, I want to get married and I expect this. Yeah. sometimes it's that men date women for like a year, 2 years, and are so in love with her and like, oh, I want to marry you, and then she brings it up. I could not imagine how awful that would feel.
It feels like very manipulative.
I think you told me that you had a male friend this
Yeah.
happened to.
Yeah.
And it really messed him up. Like, he didn't want to date anyone after this.
It's not even like he doesn't want to pay, you know. It's like you're using me. Like
Yeah.
you're basically like blackmailing me.
Yeah, it's like, if you love me, you'll pay up. That doesn't feel nice. Honestly, like, hearing those stories makes me feel very... Like, if I was a man, I would feel upset if that happened to me, of course, because I would feel like you lied to me. And again, I feel like men don't have a right to be bitter at the women who are open about it. I don't think, because that's their personal right. But women also don't have a right to do the whole like, oh, a man is a bad man for not wanting to pay my parents money to get the right to me as a person. Like, me saying it out loud, it sounds wrong because you as a woman in the modern world have your own freedom.
Yeah.
You're not your parents' property and you're not a man's property. So I gotta say, for me, you putting a price tag on yourself, like when I told my parents about it, they were like, it sounds like you're selling a cow. I would not be willing to put a value on myself. I'm priceless.
Yeah. I know that the reason why we have this marriage money thing is because of patriarchy. That basically the father of a family is paying another father of another family. But I'm very surprised that where's women's voice in this? Like, they should stand up for themselves. You're getting married with this man you love, you will have a family, right? Together. And you're basically losing money. Your family, your new family is losing money.
And again, I think, like, from my parents' point of view, what they don't understand is, as a parent, for them, their natural want for me and Jackie is like to have the best foundation. And one of the leading things that leads to you having a good life is money. Like, the leading cause of divorce is literally money. So why would you put your kids in a worse situation in their marriage? You as a parent, your duty is to build your kids up to have a good life.
Yeah.
Your kids don't owe you. And my fear, because I'm thinking from a woman's perspective of like, I know some men are horrible, not all, but some. I could not imagine that it has not happened or doesn't happen, that a man looks at it, I paid for you, so now you're my property, and whatever I do to you, what are you gonna do? Like to some men, they will now treat you like you agreed to this. And I'm not saying that's right. I don't think it is. I think that's a horrible, terrible type of human. But they exist, and I feel like this system almost benefits them because they feel like, oh, you're like a Pokemon card. I traded you for some money, and now you're mine.
This is also mentioned. A lot of people think marriage money is legit because they think women are expected to do more house chore. A woman giving birth, they're taking more risk. So this money is just to make up.
Oh, I think it's terrible to look at it that way because I feel like, first of all, you should never have a kid if you didn't want a kid. That is not your obligation as a woman. I know some people, and I'll say, like, after I came here, I've seen more of these type of comments that it's my obligation as a woman to give birth. That's ridiculous and disgusting. Throw it out.
Yeah.
Belongs in the trash. But it is something beautiful to share as a couple who love each other, to bring another life into the world, if that's what you want. I don't like this type of language like, oh, I've given him a child. I didn't give him a child.
So it's not your child?
That's my baby.
Yeah.
Like, that sounds crazy to me. It makes children sound like a weird burden.
Yeah.
My sister has 3 sons and she loves them. My brother has a son, he loves his son. Like, parents usually love their kids, that's the way it should be.
Yeah.
You shouldn't view it as a sacrifice, you should view it as like a beautiful process.
Yeah.
This makes me physically uncomfortable. The whole like chores thing. I mean, do you purposefully pick a man that doesn't do chores? I feel like if you don't like doing chores, then find a man who's willing to also do them. He should be willing to do them. He also lives in the house. It's also 50% his responsibility, is my opinion. But if he gave you bride money, does that mean you never complain about it then? Like, you're weirdly selling a deal. Like, it seems like I'm being sold a package deal. Like, oh, if I pay a woman money, then she'll just pop out a baby when I want. Oh, she'll just clean when I want her to. That's not reality, right? And I feel like you as a woman shouldn't sell yourself short, because if I think about it, what is the value of me as a human is a crazy mental gymnastics for me. How do you even price yourself? Like does your degree put something into it? Like, does your income, like, all of these things is something I legitimately am questioning. Like, do you need to check quality of your capability of having kids if you can't have kids? Are you then less of a woman? It reminds me of how things were before women's equal rights movement, and that really scares me, because that is not that far away from our current time period, and we're still fighting for equality. So I feel like, to me personally, demanding money for marrying me would be a step back.
So a lot of people argue that they don't have the chance to name their kids after theirs.
This I agree with. I will fight with women on this one, because I think it's gross.
In Denmark, like, the kid can get 2 family names.
I think you can have even more than that, actually.
Is there a main one or like a major one?
I mean, the one that's at the end would be your last name, which sounds funny. Like, I have 2 last names, and both of them are from my father's side of the family. That's something my parents agreed to, because they were like, oh, do you have anything unique? Like, they looked if either side had something unique, and they went with my dad's family's last name from my grandmother's side. So it's actually my dad's mother's last name.
But the thing is, our law, you can just name your kid no matter what. Like, you can name your kid after your kid's mom's last name.
The issue I have is here you have to choose one. I think that's ridiculous.
No. You can put 2 together in your name. Yeah. Like, quite a lot of people do that, actually.
I think that's very cool.
Like Zhang Li.
For example, my brother's kid, his last name is his mom's, and his middle name is my brother's middle last name.
Yeah.
So they chose to have the dominant last name be the mother's. And you can always change it, right? But I just think, like, in our case, I'm planning on taking his last name to replace my last name, and then keeping my middle last name, because I have a very strong tie to this. But I would have loved if he could have taken my middle name as his, because I think it's beautiful for families to actually be mixed.
Yeah.
I think that's what marriage is supposed to represent, is 2 families becoming one. So I think last names should automatically be 2 last names becoming one new family.
Yeah. And also for the women who wants to name their kid after theirs, I mean, you can just go for it. I can guarantee you can definitely find men who agree.
Who don't care.
Yeah.
They'll be like, whatever. But I also think there are many men who view it as like my legacy. I hear a lot of men say that, and it's disgusting.
If you think they're disgusting, just don't date them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, don't be with that type of man. They're not worth much anyway.
Yeah. But why do you want to marry men like that?
Yeah, because he already views you. I think, to me, it signals that you view me as a baby-making machine, which is disgusting, repulsive. Yeah. Throw the man away.
And also, some women said that it's the guarantee money because I might get divorced sometime, or like in the future, or I might get abandoned by my husband.
But now I don't know Chinese marriage law, like divorce law, that well. But wouldn't all he has, 50% of it would automatically be yours unless you have a prenup?
Yeah.
Then there's no insurance.
Like, during the marriage, the money you make, the investment, whatever, is equal, like half.
Yeah, then I feel like it's a bit of a cop-out, honestly.
Some people said the money is for the new family. The money don't go to the bride's family. It's the start of money.
Then it's
for
similar to Viking period.
Yeah, right? It's the startup money for a new family. I think this is legit.
But then do you really need...
Yeah, if you don't need it that much, then you're just putting pressure on your partner.
My question personally here is, do some women claim this because their friend was paid for, and they feel like, oh, does it kind of turn into like the ring, like engagement ring argument, like whose ring is bigger? Like, is it like whose bride money is higher? And then your parents can go around being like, oh, see, he was willing to pay like this much for our daughter because she's much better than your daughter. Like, does it turn into that?
Yeah, like a lot of people said they don't want to lose face. Like their parents don't want to lose face in front of their friends, and they don't want to lose face.
In my culture, if you asked, like, how much money do you make, how much blah blah, like money in general in Denmark is a black subject. Like you cannot mention it. It's like kind of like considered you're like a trash, like laji so it's considered like a very like thing. And I kind of feel like if someone asked us like, oh, how much blah 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 did your daughter blah blah blah, I'd be like, Nishay, why is it your business? It's my family. Why are you talking about my family? Your mouth go like this. You should work harder if you have time to talk about my family.
Yeah.
People sometimes I think should be better at saying like, why do you care?